Season 17 starts this Friday, May 17th. And while normally I would just refer people to my Season 13 starter guide, which featured Anarius, there's been some changes with Challenge Rift caches that make leveling a little bit more interesting this season. So without further ado, let's get into the Season 17 Necromancer starter guide. Now, just like every season before this, I'm going to tell you guys to save your Challenge Rift. And remember, make sure to do that after you create your seasonal character. So once the season goes live, you can create your seasonal character. You're going to do that. And then while you're on that character, you're going to select Challenge Rift, save and close, go do the Challenge Rift, finish it, get back on your normal character, level 1 Necro in this instance, and you'll see a little pop-up in your bottom left that says collect a Challenge Rift cache. Now, the reason I'm not referring people to my Season 13 starter guide for the Necro, which was Anarius, is because one very interesting fact. The Challenge Rift cache now comes with 35 Death's Breaths in it. Everything else is the same. Now, 35 DBs, you might think, well, that's nothing. What does that change? Well, it actually changes a lot. What this essentially allows us to do is after you collect the cache, you can upgrade your blacksmith to level 12 and you can go and craft a two-handed scythe. Now, why a two-handed scythe? Because as you'll notice, the third recipe in the cube is upgrade rare items. So you can take a level 70 two-handed scythe and upgrade it to a guaranteed legendary two-hand scythe. Now, why two-hand scythes is because all 4 of the two-hand scythes come with damage modifiers, and they're actually all quite good. So you can get the Blood-Tide Blade, which now this season gives 300 to 400% more Death Nova damage for every enemy in 25 yards. So that's a huge damage modifier while leveling. You get Maltorius' Petrified Spike, which is arguably the worst of the 4 to get as you're leveling, but it's still going to be very, very good because, again, damage modifiers as you're leveling up are really good. So that's going to make Bone Spear do more damage. You can get Nair's Black Death, which gives you 100% more damage for every poison skill that you use. And finally, Relina's Shadow Hook, which gives you just flat damage based on the amount of essence that you have. Now, if I had to rank these, I'd probably say Shadow Hook and Blood-Tide Blade are going to be the 2 best that you can get. And you're only going to have one shot at this, right? So you get 35 DBs, and the recipe itself costs 25 DBs. So you're going to craft your level 70 scythe, you're going to throw it in the cube, and you're going to get that one chance to make a two-hand legendary scythe. Boom. Now, I got Maltorius' Petrified Spike, which again isn't bad because the damage modifier while leveling is very good. Now, this is where it gets tricky. So if we're absolutely trying to min-max here, we're not going to roll our blood shards until we know what two-hand scythe that we get. So again, one of 4 things can happen. You get a Petrified Spike, you get a Blood-Tide Blade, you get a Nair's Black Death, you get a Relina's Shadow Hook. And if I had to rank these, I'd say Shadow Hook and Blood-Tide Blade would be top tier, followed by Nair's Black Death, and then finally Petrified Spike. However, there's another thing that can happen when you're doing this. You can actually get so lucky that you roll an Ancient two-hand scythe. Now, this will change things because if you roll an Ancient two-hand scythe, you'll notice that if you go over to the Mystic, which you can also level at level 1 with the Challenge of Cache, and then look at the secondaries you can roll on it, you'll notice the level requirement reduced can go from 30 to 40, which is up from 2 to 30 that you would get on a normal legendary. So in the event that you're so lucky that with your 1 upgrade chance, you get an Ancient two-hand scythe, you're going to want to try to roll reduce level requirement on the secondary, if you can. Because the dream here is you can get 40 reduced level requirement, and then you can wear an Ancient two-hand scythe at level 30 and just absolutely blow through leveling. But for those like 99 percentile of us that are not going to get lucky and not get that Ancient in 1 roll, what do you do based on what you get? So let's assume you got the Blood-Tide Blade with your 1 chance to upgrade a two-hand scythe. What should you spend your blood shards on? Because Iron Rose is so good now, as you guys know, it was changed to be 100% chance to cast a free Blood Nova anytime you use Siphon, which is obviously going to be OP with the Blood-Tide Blade in your cube. So what we're going to want to do is actually wait until we're level 35 to roll an Iron Rose. Now, it's a bit of a gamble here because you can get a Lost Time. Lost Time isn't going to be great. Lost Time can give you movement speed, so it's going to be real feels bad if you don't get it. But, it's no different than, rolling rings at level 1 and not getting what you want. But if you can get that Iron Rose and you got Blood-Tide Blade in the cube while you're leveling, that's going to be juicy, juicy, boys. Now, scenario 2, you get a Relina's Shadow Hook. Then I'm going to recommend exactly what we've done every season before this, and we're going to roll our blood shards on rings and try to get the Circle of Naluj Evil. And again, that's the mage ring that lets you basically get an extra skeleton mage every single time you cast mages. So with this strategy, we're going to have Shadowhook in the cube, which is going to give us more damage based on our essence pool. And we're going to have Circle of Naluj Evol, which would basically give us double mages every single time we cast Skeletal Mage. So you can see the synergy while leveling would be very, very good. Now, scenario 3, we get a Nair's Black Death, which says each different poison skill you use increases your damage by up to 100% for 15 seconds. In this scenario, because we are starting with the Narius, in my opinion, Coursemancer is the best Narius build for speed farming. So if we get a Nair's Black Death, the objective is going to be, obviously, since we start with Narius, we're going to put Coursemancer together as fast as we can. So in this instance, you're going to try to roll Gloves to get a Grasp of Essence, which again increases Corpse Explosion damage, and therefore setting yourself up to get into Coursemancer very quickly when you hit level 70. And then our last scenario is where we get a Maltorius' Petrified Spike, which again gives us a damage modifier to Bone Spear. Now again, this isn't super ideal, and in this scenario, because we're going to be spending our essence on the spear, I would probably again recommend Iron Rose at level 35 so that you can get free Blood Nova casts while you're generating essence to spend on your spear. So again, in review, we're going to upgrade a two-hand scythe. If we get ancient, we're going to try to get level reduction on it. If it's non-ancient, we're going to cube it. And then depending on which one you get is going to determine what you roll your blood shards on. So again, blood type blade, we're going to wait till level 35 and roll for an Iron Rose Phylactery. Shadowhook, we're going to try to get a Circle of Naluj Evol, a ring at level 1. Nair's Black Death, we're going to try to get Grasp of Essence, Gloves, you can roll at level 1. And then lastly, Maltorius' Petrified Spike, I probably again would wait till level 35 and try to roll an Iron Rose. Now, let's fast forward, you're level 70. What do you upgrade first? The number one thing you're going to upgrade is one-hand scythes. There's a 50% chance basically you're going to get something that's useful for you immediately. If you get Scythe the Cycle or Trigos Corded Fang, those are flat damage modifiers you're probably going to be able to throw into whatever you're playing. So if we got, Blood Type Blade in the cube, and we got the Iron Rose on, and we get Scythe of the Cycle or Trigos Corded Fang, just between the damage modifiers, you're going to get it for Hadric's Gift, 6-piece Cenarius, Scythe of the Cycle, damage modifier, and Blood Type Blade, like you're going to be T10, T11, right out of the gate. If you get Shadowhook, again, that's a flat damage modifier, and you can turn that into running, Coursemancer, you can turn that running into like a Death Nova build with Anarius. If you got Nair's Black Death, again, we're going towards Coursemancer as fast as we can. So ideally, we're after a Trigol's Corroded Fang on your character. And again, if you got Maltorius' Petrified Spike, you can get a Scythe of the Cycle or Trigol's Corroded Fang, and you'll get more damage modifier for your spear that you've been throwing out. So you guys can see where I'm going with this. The goal is to get as many damage modifiers as possible, as fast as possible. It's the whole reason I made this guide. Now, depending on how comfortable you are with Necro at this point, you might want to just start throwing all your blood shards, all your upgrades towards rings to try to get that Crispin Sense, because Crispin Sense is pretty hard to get early season. There's no way to focus farm it at all. So really just the more rings you're upgrading, the more chances you are at throwing rings and blood shards, the more likely you are to get it early season. But for some of you guys, you might need some mitigation. So, upgrading pants to get Golem Skin Breeches for Coursemancer, trying to get Dainty's Binding in your belt slot could be really helpful. And again, if you haven't gotten Grasp of Essence yet, that might be a pretty good thing to roll on a level 1 Necro and get it in the cube as fast as you can. Now, backing up, the other reason this season is a little unique in how you're going to level and how you're going to attack the start of the season is because this is the season of Lawn. And what that means is every ancient item you get while leveling, while trying to get your Hadric's Gift, is going to give you a flat 750% damage multiplier. So if you don't have your 6-piece bonus for Anarius, say you get your 2-piece, you get your 4-piece while you're doing your seasonal conquest, and you have any ancients, don't wear them because you'll cancel out your Legacy of Nightmares buff. So basically, if you get an ancient, put it on. Even if it's a terrible, terrible ancient, put it on because it's going to give you a damage modifier, a big one. So anything you get while leveling, anything you get while you're trying to get your seasonal conquest done that's ancient, put it on immediately. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to give you a flat damage modifier. And then when you get your 6-piece Anarius, then you can switch to running Anarius. But before that, you're probably going to want to run whatever ancient you can find. Now, for some of you guys, this might be kind of overcomplicating the leveling process. But again, or just trying to be as efficient as you possibly can be. And I thought that this was, kind of worth revisiting the seasonal start guide because there's a lot of juicy stuff here that you can really min-max, and it makes leveling the season a bit more unique and fun. But hopefully these tips help you guys while leveling next season. Again, the goal is to get Necromancer geared out as fast as possible, in my opinion. You can also run, Death Nova setups with Inarius. They do pretty well. But ultimately, Necromancer is the fastest Inarius build. And since we start with Inarius within the Hadric's Gift this season, that's really the gear you want to be going for right out of the gate. And we'll leave that guide, of course, in the video description below. I'll, of course, be grinding out of my mind at the start of the season. You can catch me live on my Twitch channel and ask all your Necromancer leveling questions or just your Necro questions in general. But that's pretty much going to do it for the guide, guys. As always, like, subscribe, come over to Twitch, ask your questions. I love you guys. Peace out.